Is he dead? No, I'm not dead. What up, YouTube? It's been a hot minute. It's been a while since I've talked in front of a camera, but it doesn't feel awkward at all, which is the good part. However, I'm gonna tell you where I've been and why I've been kinda MIA. So I'm a bluff kind of guy. I'm not that muscular, but I love telling the bottom line up front. And so, truth be told, I've been super sick. And it's been a major struggle. And it's been a major struggle for the past year or so. It all started back in April 2018, on the first weekend, mind you. My immune system was compromised and it never fully recovered. And I understand because that weekend was pretty hectic. I was running low on sleep and there were a lot of lifestyle choices that led up to that weekend, which caused me to tumble and fall and burn up in flames. So yeah, for the past year or so, I had chronic sickness, which was similar to cold or flu-like symptoms, and it was week after week, month after month. And yes, there were some disgusting side effects that aren't PG-13, so I won't talk about it here. You see, the thing is, in the past, prior to 2018, I was bulletproof. I felt invincible. I hardly ever got sick. I never got sick. And then when 2018 rolled around, everything changed. And that's because 2018 was a really, really bad year for me. I wasn't even me, basically, last year. I was somebody else. I was in a daydream, but in a really bad dream because I became a couch potato. I ate fast food every day, multiple times a day, and I let myself go. I stopped working out, and I got a dad bod, essentially, like a beer belly, and I was skinny, but I was fat. I was skinny, but I had a high concentration of fat. And worst of all, I had a terrible, absolutely wretched sleeping schedule. And this conscious decision to make bad choices every day, I guess it began realistically in the latter half of 2017. And it carried over into 2018, where I kept doing bad stuff for my health every single day. And when I chose bad lifestyle choices for months on end, it ended up with what happened, which is a broken body. I essentially abused the crap out of my body. Not in the self-harming sense, but I guess so. Wait, hold on. I guess it is kind of like self-harming because I was filling my body with junk and not giving it time to rejuvenate by sleeping properly, by eating junk food and I'm repeating. By the way, if you see my eyes dart to the right, I guess your left of the screen, it's because I set up an aquarium right in front of me and I'm kind of distracted. It's beautiful. And I'll get into that later if I remember to talk about it in this video. But then you're probably wondering, Amos, why didn't you just update us? Why didn't you tell us that you've been sick? Well, I would have, but when I became chronically sick all the freaking time, it led to my self-esteem being shot and my confidence was absolutely gone because physically, my body and my face was changing, right? When you're sick all the time, you develop like this zombie appearance, and I wasn't me anymore, and I became really self-conscious of my physical appearance, and I was sick. I mean, it's really hard to muster up the energy to create a video when you're sick. And so I guess I had all these excuses running through my head. But the real reason is that my spirit, my charisma was absolutely depleted because of my self-consciousness of being sick all the freaking time. I got sick so often, it got to the point where it became very difficult to even stare back at my own reflection in the mirror. Sometimes I would, do what I had to do and I wouldn't even look in the mirror for weeks. I'm not even exaggerating, for weeks on end, and it was rough. I can get into the details. Okay, you know what? Let me spill some tea and give you some details. I was sick so often. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I get sick, I essentially become a little lazy and I don't take care of my hygiene as much. And sometimes I went days and sometimes weeks without brushing my teeth or showering. And so you can see how all of that can accumulate into why someone's self-esteem would be shot. Like he doesn't even care about taking care of his own appearance anymore. And it just wasn't fun. And I'm the type of person when I get sick, I tend to push people away and I want to be alone. You know how like there's other types of people that love to be comforted and people around them when they're sick? Well, I'm the exact opposite. I prefer to just be secluded and isolated and alone when I'm sick. Basically I like bathing in my own misery. And it's not exactly the best thing to do in the world. And so essentially I guess I pushed away everyone in my social circle, including you guys. And yeah, I have no one else to blame except for myself. I gotta blame myself. I got sick so often that I began to think that I had something more serious, and it was really scary. I honestly thought that I had Crohn's disease, lupus, cancer, or even AIDS. So I had my blood test drawn and everything, and yeah. Fortunately, I don't have any of the above. But I did have a compromised or weakened immune system from doing bad lifestyle choices for days on end for about a year. So to recover back from that, man, it's been a work in progress. It's taking everything in me to get to this point right here. And I look a lot better than I did even 6 months ago. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm good looking or anything, but nah, you know what I'm talking about. Alright, so to get back on topic, since prior to 2018, I was always healthy, right? So deep down inside, I couldn't relate to people who always complained that they were chronically sick. You know someone in your life, right? That's always getting the flu or always being sick, and you're kind of like, alright, you do you, boo-boo. And I couldn't relate to them because I was always freaking healthy. Right? When everyone around me was getting the flu or getting the cold, I was super healthy and I took it for granted, right? But when it happened to me, when I started to get chronically sick, I have to confess that it was the worst thing ever to happen to me. Ever. If I could describe it in one word, it would be suffocating. It was an absolutely suffocating experience, suffocating feeling, and just suffocating all around. And my thought process to that is, your body, our bodies were designed to work for us and to take care of problems, right? We have an immune system with white blood cells. Okay, you know the cells, T cells and everything that fight off infections, viruses, and bacteria. It's supposed to work for you, right? But when it doesn't, man, it's suffocating because it's like, dude, you're supposed to be on my team. Why are you against me? Why are you letting me get sick all the time? It's kind of like when you pay for internet that advertises itself it claims to get 100 megabytes per second, but then when you actually hook it up and you use it, you only get a fraction of that. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You advertise that you good for us, but you actually bad for us. Okay? I was sick so often that I damn near flirted with the idea of becoming a vegan. And you guys know that I love me a juicy piece of steak. So for me to contemplate becoming a vegan, to cut out all junk food and excess sugar out of my life, you know I was serious about that. Being sick all the time was frustrating beyond belief because I was sick all the time, right? But then there were these short-lived days where I felt like I was alright. But then stupid me, oh my gosh, one of my fishies was like, but stupid me, I would do the same bad habits. I would go out and celebrate by getting a Big Mac and then getting 2 hours sleep that night. And then I would repeat that for 2 to 3 days in a row. And then boom, I'm sick again. And so these short-lived days of healthiness, here's the thing. 2018 and 2019, I remember more days being sick than I do being healthy. I can probably count the number of days I was healthy on my fingers. But you know how that saying goes, if you keep doing the same things that you always did, you will always get what you've been doing. It goes something like that, right? And so I'm not crazy, right? You can't expect things to change if you keep doing the same things. So I was like, I gotta do something about this. So I kept a log, I kept a journal about the things that I've been doing and the things that I'm gonna do and what happens, the consequences. If I do this, then this happens. Such as if I get 3 hours of sleep a night for 4 nights in a row, you're gonna get sick again, dummy. And so I wrote that down. So I realized sleep is one of the things that I gotta work on, along with food. Oh my goodness gracious, that is super underrated. The food that you put into your body can either benefit you or harm you. And let me tell you straight up front that I was harming my body with the food that I was choosing to put in. And so the way that I decided to overcome being chronically sick is that I decided to strengthen my immune system. I went down to the root of the problem and I fixed it from the ground up. I stopped putting on temporary band-aids on the problems and built up a foundation of success. I started to eat my greens, and I really don't like eating vegetables. I mean, I always described it as rabbit food, right? Stuff that you throw at your pet rabbit like, oh, here's a carrot, here's a piece of cabbage, but not for me. Yeah, that all changed. I started to eat my greens nearly every single day, and that really made an impact for the better. And it's such a sad thing because I always viewed food as a pleasurable experience and being tasty, right? And that's why I always opted to go for that Big Mac and fast food and steaks. You know, things that are just, that make your tongue filled with a savory experience. And what's that taste experience that the Japanese people, umami. That's what I always viewed food as, something that's supposed to be good and delicious. But now, fast forward to 2019, I view food differently. I now look at food as a necessary nourishment, meaning it doesn't have to necessarily be tasty. But as long as it's good for me, I'm gonna put it in my body. So now I view food as something that's like you know how cars view fuel. It's just something that they need to keep going. So it's kind of sad, but I cut out ice cream from my life. I cut out candy from my life. I can talk about all the things I cut out, and it makes me sad. And I've replaced it with spinach, kale, and all these healthy stuff. I'm not a fan of it, but I know that it's good for me, and so I'm gonna keep eating it. But I wouldn't say that I necessarily got rid of all processed food from my life. I still have a little bit of an intake, but I limit it. Because if I eat too much processed food and junk food, and I go days on end doing that bad train, the soul train that goes off the bridge, I'm gonna get sick. And so I don't want to be sick no more. And so processed food, I'm gonna say pick up your bags and take it to the left. You should have put a ring on it. You know what I'm saying? But food is not the only factor that attributed to me coming back and being semi-healthy. The other two factors are sleep and breathing techniques with meditation. Let me open up that topic and put my head in real quick, like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. Have you seen that movie? It was like 1992 or 1993. It was super old, like almost 30 years ago. There was a scene where he was inside of like this robotic rhino and he was sticking his head out the butthole. Dude, that is one of the funniest movie scenes ever. If you haven't seen that movie, Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey, you gotta watch it. I seriously give it the full certification of approval. If you do it right and you're trained, a human could potentially go weeks without food in their body and days without water. But scientific studies have shown that humans can only go hours without sleep before they start deteriorating and their body starts breaking down. So sleep is super important. And the other thing, oxygen. Humans can go minutes without it. Meaning, if you cut off the oxygen to a human's brain for a couple minutes, they could die. That's how important oxygen is, and that's how important sleep is. And so I started getting down to the root of the problem when I was talking about earlier, and I started tackling it from there on up. When I started taking care of my oxygen intake and my sleeping habits, man, things started to change for the better. And I just remembered to get back into it. The reason why I have an aquarium and some fishies is that when I was sick, man, I had no motivation to do anything or to even take care of myself. When I was sick, I was like, you know what? Stay sick. You deserve to be miserable. You don't even want to get better. A lot of negative self-talk. But then I started to get into fish keeping, and when I started to actively take care of another living specimen, that's when I also had the motivation to take care of myself, because if I'm not good and able, then I can't take care of my pet. And so I need to get better so I can take care of my pet. And so real talk, if you're someone that's feeling down or if you're sick all the time, my recommendation, what worked for me, what might work for you, is get a pet. Maybe a cute little puppy from your local shelter, or a fishy. I don't know, it did wonders for me. It was, to say the least, very therapeutic. But anyways, this is a really long video and I feel like it was a lot of rambling and a rant and kind of like a, hi, I'm coming back. all in one. It's kind of like a bittersweet goodbye, but also a hello, because I'm coming back and I'm better and I feel healthy. And let's talk about the lessons learned. So what did we learn here today in this video through my experience of being sick for about a year? Number one, do not take your health for granted. I'm gonna say it again so that you hear it and you digest it and you poop it out, okay? Do not take your health for granted. Take care of your body and your body will take care of you. If you neglect or abuse your body will say, okay, I'm gonna drive off this bridge now. Take it from me. I abused the heck out of my body in my teens and my 20s. And I had no consequences. But when I became 26 and then 27, it caught up to me and it bit me in the balls.
Thanks, Obama.
And it was such a painful experience. So please, take care of your body and your body will take care of you. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll talk to you later, neighbor.